Hi everyone, welcome to this second tutorial for how to create graphs using MatPlotLib. As we mentioned, we're going to be using repelit.com for this particular exercise. If you haven't signed in, watch the previous video so that you can learn how to sign up and then sign into this website using your Google account. So we're just going to be creating a new Python project. As I mentioned in the last video, if you click on the top left here on the plus icon, you can create a new project. Make sure you select Python from the list here and then allocate or delete the title here, which will be just a pre-filled title to make it your own title, matplotlib. And we'll call this test number 2 because I've already created one before. So let's create at the bottom here and it should take you to the IDE environment. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, you've got your programming or coding area in the middle, which is your main Python file, always ending in a .py extension. You've got your console output here and the shell. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, you might find some of the extra windows require some adjustments. So you might want to drag this particular window and make it slightly larger so you can see your graphs a bit more easily. So we're going to start off by just testing out Python, a basic Python command, just so you can see how that works in this editor. And once you've typed it in, print hello world, press the run at the top so you can see the output on your console. There we go. And that's just a test. Now, in order to facilitate or help use the graphing tool in Python, we have to use an external library. So we're going to import this library, and the library name is matplotlib.pyplot. And now when we import an external library, we have to give it a local name, and so we're going to import it as PLT. That's a nice name to keep it as, and then you can refer to it in your programs. So let's start with a very basic plot, and we're going to use a range of numbers in this particular example. So we're going to call that range of numbers, just simply call it A, and that's the name of the variable, and we assign that to, let's say, a list. The list will be made up of a range, so we're going to put in brackets range, and then we can determine the numbers, starting number of 0, and let's say the end is 12. It'll become more apparent why I'm using those numbers later, but for now we're going to create a second range, which again is the same list and same numbers, 0 and 12. Don't forget the brackets and the comma in between. Now we've created two lists here. So two lists would include a range of numbers from 0 to 12. So each of those lists has the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 12. So those are going to be used to plot the coordinates or the marker points for your first graph. And then just to show you a more simplistic version, we're going to create a list of numbers here which are not coded as a list. They're simply a range of numbers, and we use brackets to create this range of numbers, and you can type in numbers in the brackets. So I'm going to choose a range of numbers here, and notice I can go up or down. It doesn't really matter as long as I've got some values in there that I can plot on my chart. So we've got two different ways here of creating a list of numbers for our lines. Remember, we're creating a line graph for this particular exercise. So we've got a list in A, which is 0 to 12, a list in B, which is again 0 to 12. and then a list in C. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to decide how to plot the graph. So we've got a command called PLT, which is the name of the library that creates the chart, and we're going to use a method called plot. So plt.plot, and what do we want to plot in here? Well, we're simply going to use the values from A and B. Now at this stage, I will also add in there that you can select the color that you want your particular line to be. So we can just select color equals red. There are a range of colors that are accepted in there. We're going to stick to the basic primary colors for now. So that will create the first line. And then what we might do is, just to repeat that exercise, plt.plot, we can create a second line using just the values from C. Again, if you want to determine the color to make it slightly different, you can write that in there as well. Now we've got our two lines plotted, we can go ahead and actually show that in Python. So plt.show allows you to see the chart on your screen. So let's run that code and see what it produces. Again, we've got the hello world. Now at this stage, you may be required to wait a couple of seconds because in REPL, in the website, in the IDE, once you start importing external libraries, REPL will then run a small code here to start adding those those commands to your file. So there is a couple of minutes of waiting time here. Don't worry about it. If it goes silent for a couple of minutes, that's normal. Okay, that's expected to happen. So whilst it's doing the update, I'll just run through the code again, so you just repeat what we've done. We started on line 1 by creating a simple print command just to test the Python IDE. We printed hello world in keeping with tradition. On line number 3, we imported the library for MatPlotLib, and we assigned that library to a local command, which is plt. We can refer to the library as plt within our file. On line 5, we created a variable called a, and we assigned a list of numbers to that variable. The list of numbers was a range between 0 to 12, 0 being the starting point, 12 being the end. We did again on line 6, we did that again with a different variable name. This time we'll call it b, and we again used a list and a range of numbers 0 to 12. On C, I showed you a slightly different way to plot the coordinates of a line. This time we actually type out the exact numbers, and this works better if you've got numbers that fluctuate, positives and negatives, etc., throughout the range. So you've got -2 here, 1, 3, 4, a 5, and then back down to 4, 9, and a 10. And you'll see that plotted out in a few minutes on the right side. Next, on line 9, we've got the command that actually allows us to plot the line for AB, and we've determined the color by setting that attribute to red. And that property is set to red. And then on line 11, we did exactly the same, but this time we're only plotting line C, and that is being assigned to a color green as a property. Line 13 then effectively creates and shows us the graph, and you can see now that it's loaded up on the right side of the screen what that graph looks like. So again, just a reminder, you might want to stretch the window here a little bit. You can also stretch it down a little bit, and once you've got a slightly better view, you will see that inside this section of the screen you can actually enlarge the figure. There are other commands, command menu buttons underneath. I won't go into those for this tutorial, but if you did want to download this graph, this is quite a handy way to keep a PNG version of the chart. Okay, and there you have it. So just to compare what's going on here, we've got the red line which starts at 0 and 0, so 0 for A and 0 for B. Remember, the first red line is plotting A against B. So A against B would be 0 and 0, starting off at 0 and 0 and ending at 12 and 12. So it's plotting a linear kind of a flat line all the way up to point 12. And then line C, which is codon 11, is the green colored line. And as you can see, with using the coordinates, it is fluctuating through the graph. Now, we've just created a basic graph there. It has no title, no labels for the x-axis or y-axis. It also doesn't have any of the labels for these ticks at the bottom. So we can just learn a couple of extra things that you might want to do to enhance your graph. So we're just going to stop the code there at the top, and we're going to make a couple of adjustments in the graph before it's shown to the audience. So let's click on line 12. Let's put a couple of empty lines in here just so that we can use this space. And we'll start off with really just putting a title on the graph. So we'll put plt.title. This is another method that belongs to MatPlotLib. And in the brackets, you can simply type out the name of your graph. So let's call this one ice cream sales. That's what I'm going to call it. 2022. We're not going to run this just yet, but if you did press run, you'd see a title appear at the top. Let's put another label on there. Let's PLT again. Let's do the x-axis. X label. So this is going to be a label for the x-axis, and again, exactly the same process. We'll put months at the bottom. You can do the same with the y label as well. So plt.ylabel would give you a label for the y-axis. So let's put ice creams sold in thousands. And then lastly, and this is a bit more trickier because you need to determine the numbers that are at the bottom on the x-axis. We might want to change that to actually represent the months of the year. So we're going to use another method called plt.x, which is the x-axis, ticks. Notice you always get a little help guide on REPL, so you can see the different ways in which you can use this particular method. But just to keep things simple, let's put in brackets, double brackets for this one. We're going to replace the set of data that's there already, the labels that are there already, with a new set of data. So the first set of brackets is the first set of data, which is what we can say are the numbers 1 through to 12. So we're just going to type in 1 through to 12. And those are 12 numbers. It doesn't go all the way to 12, but we've got 12 numbers there. And then what we can do is we can assign a replacement by putting a comma in and typing in what we actually want to see in that place. So we can do Jan, comma, Feb. You have to be very careful with your commas here because there is a requirement to have your text within speech marks. So bear with me whilst I type that out. Got June, July, August. I think I've got that right. August, September, October, nearly there, November, and December. So now you can see here in this particular line of code on 17, it's quite a long one to be honest, so let's just stretch that out so you can see it. What we've decided to do is create a pltxticks command, which will replace the bottom of the graph, replace the numbers at the bottom of the graph with these labels here. And you've got to have an exact corresponding number of labels. So we started with 0. We've got 12 numbers that were on the graph already, and we're replacing them with these labels here. Right, let's have a look at that and see how it works. Now this time when I press run, it should be a little bit quicker because the software has already updated and installed the MatPlotLib. And there you go, that's the new figure, and we'll just enlarge that inside this window. And as you can see there, we've now got labels. Just make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so we've now got labels we've got a title, we've got labels for the y-axis and the x-axis, and we've also got the months at the bottom. That's it for this tutorial. Tune in again for the next one where we look at how to plot a histogram, and we might also take a quick look at how to do scatter graphs. Thank you and enjoy making your graphs. Bye bye for now.